So landscaping and planning, I imagine it begins with a landscaping plan?
Yeah, absolutely.
How does that work with the customer?
I mean, the biggest thing is meeting with you, seeing what your ideas are. We always got to get your feedback.
Yeah.
Then we'll kind of tweak it. For example, you might like this plant that's deer like to eat it. So we got to justify.
So you're letting me know, cool plant, but do you have deer? Might not be a good idea.
I always tell people, do you want to feed the deer?
Yeah.
Or do you want a plant that the deer are not going to eat? Fortunately today, the deer are so hungry, they'll eat anything. They're not supposed to eat roses, they eat them.
Yeah.
So it's just like, we try our best, but we can't always stop the Mother Nature from eating our plants.
Yeah, right.
So that's a huge thing. Knowing your surroundings with your plants is number one. Because once again, those deer love our plants.
So that's a great aspect to bring up in terms of even the planning. I mean, there is how the thing looks.
Yes.
But is it going to look well for a long time? Some critter doesn't eat it.
Yeah, the number one thing is kind of making sure, the plants we stick there are going to be there for a while.
Yeah.
There's also different products we can use to spray the deer. It's called like Deer Off.
Okay.
That works great until the first rain.
Yeah. Right.
So, like you said, are these plants going to last there a long time? It all depends what you're trying to accomplish. Our accomplishment is making sure we're not blocking windows. That dinner window that you guys sit at every single night, we want our plants to be at 4 feet. We don't want to go any higher.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of science between plants.
That's a good point. Even how fast things grow, which your clients probably don't realize what's going to happen in 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I love when people say, how big is this plant going to get? Well,
how long you have it there?
How long do you have it there?
Right.
Are you trimming it? I always refer, if you trim it on a normal basis like our hair, it's not going to grow that much. But if you let your hair grow, we don't know how long our hair's going to grow.
What about in terms of the seasons then, and anticipating the seasons?
Yeah, we always try to get our spring color, our summer color, and our fall color. Just touching splashes of different colors is huge.
Yeah.
Let's just say you like your reds. We'll do some roses, hydrangeas. Our summer color is great for our hydrangeas. Strawberry, vanilla hydrangeas. I'll get you 3 different colors out of one plant.
Neat.
It's just changing from white to pink to like a brown, and it's dying.
So if I have a favorite color, you can probably find the right plants so I get that color in the summer and spring and fall.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. As long as you tell us, when we're designing.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing is, I always tell people, more information you can give me, I can build you what you need.
Let me ask you, so we got the design done and it's the days to come put it in.
Yeah.
You're able to tell me how long it'll take? Like it'll take a day, half day, 2 days, 3 days?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then what happens? I mean, is a whole crew coming on in? Is like busy bees all over the place? Or?
Yeah, it depends. We try to work with an average of 3 employees on a job site.
All right.
We don't like to have it too busy, and it's harder to keep track, and we might as well, making sure everybody's doing their jobs and making sure, A, B, and C is getting done at once. So there's a process. My guys are well trained in that, and they know how to run the operation and continue moving it.
And I have to imagine, I'm guessing, but, so there's bushes. The big stuff goes in first, and then the little stuff, and then the detail stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, the bushes always go in first, and, the perennials, the mulch, Snapshot is huge, especially with that new soil.
What is Snapshot?
Snapshot is the weed preventer.
Okay.
That's basically preventing our weeds from our new soil. I always tell people it's like getting a cut on your hand. If you put a Band-Aid when you cut yourself, I'm putting that on my soil so it doesn't infect our soil.
Okay.
A lot of people mention, I got all these weeds. Well, weeds come from the surface, birds, everything else. Why do I got corn growing in my yard?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was from the bird.
Yeah.
So there's just so many unique ways of, weeds to come through. Your neighbor, how many times I'm getting weeds throughout this area, but not over here. Well, your neighbor's blowing all his grass in your yard.
Oh, that's why that's happening. I got to talk to my neighbor about
that. I would build a fence.
Yeah, right. So, that keeps good neighbors.
Yeah,
good
absolutely.
Neighbors. Well, okay, maybe a question here is, in terms of somebody planning a budget, because obviously do you help steer them towards
absolutely
where to put the money to in terms of this is probably going to be a better investment, I guess, a bush versus annual.
Okay. So I always that's one of my questions I ask. What is your budget? My budget's $3,000. All right, sweet, we can work with this. All right, we're going to set the foundation plans, nice tree, soil. We'll bring all the big stuff in. Then later on, you can kind of put your perennials in later. So realistically, it all comes down to numbers of plants.
Okay.
So as long as we set a budget, and I can work around a budget, it's so much easier because fortunately, I can dream up this big plan and you tell me crazy.
Right, sure. You got to know up front. That just makes sense.
No, absolutely. And the number one thing is different plants have different value.
Yeah.
I could sell you a $65 boxwood. You wouldn't know that as a consumer.
Yeah.
So we might want to stick down to a 35 and I can plant more. So the budget is the key of doing that kind of business, because we just never know what things cost.
Now, can I ask you mentioned, and you may just say, you can put this in now, and a little later, put those in. You can put those in. Do you mean then are you guys coming back? Do you ever, in terms of the budget, go, okay, you guys handle the big stuff, you got the design, but then you let them know, listen, whatever, when May gets here or when summer gets here, you can plant, you know where to plant the stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there some integration, and they get a feeling of being in the yard too?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that goes back off to the drawing. All right,
okay,
Tom suggested some daylilies around this Japanese maple, or Tom suggested we're going to be putting in some phlox, and that's our beautiful May color. Okay. I'm going to do that myself because I could save a little bit of money, and it's May time. So there's different ways of doing everything.
Well, that's neat. And that's nice that you work with folks.
You got to work with everybody because times have changed. Everything's fortunately expensive.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Tom, sounds like you guys do a lot of great planning and obviously a lot of great planting as well. So appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah, not a problem. Thank you.